number 15, write an equation and slope-intercept form of a line that passes through the 2 points. So first thing we're going to do is find our slope. Remember, y's go on top, x's go on the bottom. So we're going to have negative 8 minus 4 over 1 minus 5. So same signs we add, different signs we subtract. Keep the sign of the larger number. So negative 12 divided by 3 is by 4. Negative 4 is positive 3. So then we're going to use any point. It doesn't matter which one. And we're going to write it in point slope form. So the 3 goes in here. The x goes with the x, but we switch the sign. The y goes with the y, but once again, you switch the sign. So you distribute, you get 3x minus 3. Bring down the y plus 8. And then we're going to subtract 8. So y is going to equal to 3x minus 11. Okay, number 16. We're going to solve the inequality, so we're going to draw our line. So we're going to move the negative 2m to the side, so it becomes a positive 2m. And we're going to move the 4 to the side, so it becomes a negative 4. Bring down the 9, bring down the 7m. So negative 7m plus 2m would give me 9m. Negative 4 plus 9 are different signs, so we're going to subtract, keep the sign of the larger number. And then we're going to divide by 9. So m, bring down your inequality, is less than or equal to 5 ninths. Number 17. So multiply x minus 3 squared. Remember, the squared means that you need to write it twice. So we're going to write it twice, and then we're going to distribute. So x times x is x squared. X times negative 3 is negative 3x. Negative 3 times x is negative 3x. And negative 3 times negative 3 is positive 9. Again, we're going to add like terms. So x squared minus 6x plus 9. Okay, so be careful with the signs. Okay, 18, which is the factor. Once again, we're going to use product, guess and check. Two numbers multiplied together, that gives me x squared. Two numbers multiplied together, that gives me negative 35. Should be 5 and 7. One has to be a negative, the other one has to be a positive. Cross multiply to verify my middle term. Okay, when you add them, that becomes negative 2x. That is your middle term. So it'll be x minus 7, x plus 5. So one of these is the answer. So x plus 7, now x plus 5 would be your answer. Number 19, factor. Okay, so usually this we would factor by guess and check. But if you look at your answers, none of them want them to factor by guess and check. They just want you to factor the GCF. So the GCF of 24, 56, and 40 would be 8. So 24 divided by 8 would be 3. Bring down the x squared and then minus. 56 divided by 8 would be 7. Bring down the x. And finally, 40 divided by 8 would be 5. So the answer would be B. So again, be careful with your signs. Okay, factor and then solve. So this one, okay, I'm going to have to factor using guess and check. The last term doesn't have an x. So two numbers multiplied together, that gives you x squared, would be x and x. Two numbers multiplied together, that gives you 2, would be 2 and 1. Cross multiply to verify the middle term. Okay, so that checks. So I'm going to have x plus 2, x plus 1. And then I'm going to use the zero product property to break them apart. Okay, so we're going to have x is equal to negative 2 and x is equal to negative 1. The answer can be either A or D. Okay. 21 says multiply. So once again, we're going to start with the 1/2 x, and we're going to multiply it to the 4. So we go, what's 1/2 times 4? So 1/2 times 4 would be 4 over 2, which is 2. So we're going to have 2x squared. Was 1/2 times 6. So once again, 1/2 times 6 would be 6 over 2. So that's going to give me 3. Then we do the negative 5. So negative 5 times 4x is negative 20x. And negative 5 times 6 would be negative 30. So we're going to combine our like terms. The answer is C. 22 is factor. Again, last term doesn't have an x, so we're going to use guess and check. Two numbers multiplied together that gives you t squared is t times t. Two numbers multiplied together that gives you 25 is negative 5 and 5. Cross multiply. This time our middle term, we want it to be 0. So we have t minus 5 and t plus 5. Okay, number 23. It just says factor, so we're going to use guess and check. Two numbers multiplied together that gives you x squared, x and x. Two numbers multiplied together that gives you negative 12. Okay, 4 and 3. One of them has to be a negative, the other one has to be a positive. Cross multiply, and we want our middle term to be 1. Okay. So it's going to be x plus 4, x minus 3. So x plus 4, x minus 3. Okay, 24. So we're going to solve, again, using the zero product property. So 5x minus 8 is equal to 0. X plus 3 is going to equal 0. So I'm going to add 8. And then you're going to divide by 5. So x is 8 over 5. In this case, you're going to just subtract 3. Okay. 25 says multiply. So x plus 4 squared. So the square means I need to write it twice. So start with the x and multiply it times x. So x times x is x squared. X times 4 is 4x. 4 times x, again 4x. And 4 times 4 is 16. So if you look at your middle term, that gives you 8x. Bring down the 16 and bring down your x squared. Okay, 26 says the sum of two numbers is 7. So the sum of two numbers, so if you add two numbers together, is 7. And their difference, so if you subtract them, it's 3. So what we're going to do is we're just going to guess and check. We just need to guess and check numbers that equal to 7. So for example, 6 and 1. Okay, so that gives me 7. But 6 minus 1 does not give me 3. So that can be the answer. Okay. How about 5 and 2? 5 plus 2 is 7. But 5 minus 2 will give me 3. So the answer is 5 and 2. Okay, 27 says factor. So we're going to do guess and check. Two numbers multiplied together that gives you 2k squared. It's 1k and 2k. Two numbers multiplied together that gives you negative 3 would be 3. I'm sorry, that multiplied together gives you negative 9 is 3 and 3. One has to be a negative, the other one has to be a positive. So let's cross multiply to verify our middle term. So we have negative 3k. Okay, so that's our middle term. So the answer is 2k plus 3, k minus 3. Okay, 28, let's multiply. So once again, I'm going to start with the 2x, multiply it to the x. So 2x squared, 2x times 1 would be 2x. X times 1 times x would give me 1x, and 1 times 1 is 1. Middle term would give me 3x, bring down the 1, bring down the 2x squared. Okay, 30 says factor. So we're going to start with 10y squared. Two numbers multiplied together, that gives you 10y squared. That would be 10y and 1y. Two numbers multiplied together, that gives you 30. So we can use 5 and 6. One of them has to be negative, the other one has to be positive. Okay, so let's cross multiply. That would be negative 55y, which it is our middle term. So we're going to have 10y plus 5 and y minus 6. Okay, factor and then solve. So we're going to have to use guess and check and then the zero product property. So two numbers multiplied together, that gives you x squared, x and x. Two numbers multiplied together, that gives you negative 16, would be 8 and 2. One has to be positive, the other one has to be negative. Cross multiply to verify your middle term. That would be 6x, which is correct. So I get x plus 8, x minus 2 equals to 0. So then I use the zero product property. X plus 8 is equal to 0. X minus 2 is equal to 0. So we're going to subtract 8. Then we're going to add 2. Okay, 31. Let's factor. I'm going to use guess and check because the last term doesn't have an x. So two numbers multiplied together, that gives you 121. Be 11m and 11m. Two numbers multiplied together, that gives you 4 over 25. Will be 2 over 5. 2 over 5. Since it's a negative, one has to be a negative, the other one has to be a positive. So again, my middle term has to be 0. Okay, so that gives me 0. So the answer is 11m plus 2 over 5 and 11m minus 2 over 5.